Hello, thank you, Mr. Creek, for having us here today. We are here to present to you our findings and recommendations on your hotel, the Bonstar Hotel. I'm Jenny Raj, and with me I have my colleagues Derek Nalatka, Christina Rines, Bhargav Varadia, and Stephanie Gritching. So our agenda today is to go through the diagnosis and identify the problem as well as the key issues. From there, we'll tell you a little bit about the data and our analysis that we conducted on it, and then finally give you our findings and recommendations. So a little bit about this hotel. Bonstar Hotel is located in the country of Namistan that has a population of approximately 15 million. This hotel was built in the 1970s and served a wide variety of customers. Through time, the hotel has gone through many changes, specifically when Namistan gained its independence in 1995. Bonstar finally plateaued when you acquired it in 2001. We were told to audit this hotel and formulate a strategy to improve its business performance. We began our analysis, and some of the notable issues we found were a lack of occupancy of rooms. Currently, the official numbers we received show that the hotel operates at a 10 to 15% occupancy rate, which means that the hotel is significantly underperforming. In addition, you have a manager, Mr. Kaplan, who along with the staff is severely inexperienced and not conducive to ensuring the success of your hotel. These issues have led us to further analyze the hotel situation, and I will now pass it off to my colleague, Derek, to address our findings.
Thank you. First, we'll look at Bonstar's strengths, starting with their location. Namistan had a stable government and had enjoyed 8% or more gross domestic product growth per year from 2002 to 2007, thanks largely to its booming energy sector, but also to economic reform, good harvest, and increased foreign investment. Next, they're above the 3-star industry standard. According to Exhibit 1, Bonstar Hotel was above average on hotel price and hotel quality for a 3-star hotel. Then, office space quality. Carpeting was new, the signage was good, and heavy-duty insulated door and window frames were in use. The office space was 95% occupied. Now I'll break down the weaknesses. Organizational structure. They operated on a very complicated structure. The 4 companies below operated the business and are all somehow tied back to either you or Kaplan. Financial resources. It's extremely obvious through our experience here that the Bonstar Hotel's financials are not in order and that dependable financial resources were scarce. Hotel quality. The building was poorly insulated and the hallway carpeting was stained and worn thin. Signage was poor. Approximately 20% of the rooms had been shuttered. With the exception of the 4 suites, one of which I was occupying, the rooms were 30 square meters in size and were furnished with decrepit, clunky furniture. Staff experience. Mark Kaplan was an inexperienced general manager. The front desk was being managed by 2 new interns who had little knowledge of how to run the reservation system and had little mastery over the computer program that compiled the daily occupancy reports. The restaurant manager even professed his lack of culinary experience to me. Key staff. There existed some major conflict of interest with some members of the staff. Mark Kaplan is the general manager of both your companies. Accounting and finance department staff held dual positions in the Bonstar Hotel and in Kaplan's company. The Bonstar Hotel did not employ a night staff manager due to austerity measures. Ownership awareness. You admittedly had not paid much attention to the hotel's performance as long as it required no additional cash injections. You had admitted to not knowing whether the hotel was underperforming due to poor management or whether it was performing at par with other hotels in Elhan. Now we'll take a look at some of the opportunities that Bonstar has. Customers. Customers are mostly local and international tourists who stayed on average 5 to 7 days. Branded hotels were sought out by foreign travelers as a guarantee of an acceptable standard or comfort. Our suppliers. Most of the hotel supply companies we had emailed had replied to our inquiries quoting prices that were 25 to 30% lower than Kaplan's prices. Sell the hotel. We were able to generate a lot of interest when we reached out to several different avenues about selling the hotel. Sell or lease the casino. Approximately 2/3 of casino revenue was derived from gaming table and slot machine operations. In general, slot machine revenue exceeded gaming table revenue. 1/3 of revenue was sourced from accommodation, food and beverage, and merchandise sales. Revenue from accommodation accounted for approximately 10 to 15% of revenue, which could be expected to translate into an increase in hotel occupancy by 10 to 15%. Finally, I'll expand upon some of the potential threats to Bonstar's business. Entertainment. The Bonstar Hotel was lacking in plenty of entertainment opportunities such as a nightclub, casino, and a sauna. Landowners. The land on which the building is situated is owned by a group of local stakeholders. This makes it much more difficult to sell the hotel. Kaplan suppliers. Kaplan was pushing to turn around the Bonstar by using local intermediaries instead of sourcing the materials directly because most of the importers were close associates of Kaplan. Now I'll give it to Stephanie to take you through the VRIO analysis.
Okay, so with this analysis, we first look at value, and with that, you have to look at how expensive is the resource and how easy is it to obtain in the market. So looking at Namaste, they have a stable market. So this allows for resources to be fairly common, however, they are expensive. But even though they are common, this allows for differentiation in the value of the resources possible. And when looking at the office space for the hotel, you see that the value in this is really high. It allowed for 30% of the total revenue. When you look at rareness, you have to ask the question, how rare or limited is the resource? Resources for this are not rare at all, and this creates a perfect competition, which we saw in our findings that 25% of hotels that exist in Elan are similar to the hotels of Bonstar. And with this, you can see that the resources can be differentiated when the resource is not rare. Next, we look at imitatability. How difficult is it to imitate the resource? So at first you might see that it's perceived as easy to imitate, but you have to remember that it's costly. Intangible resources are costly to imitate in comparison to tangible resources. And with a bundle of resources is harder to imitate versus single resources. Next, we look at organization. With this, you have to ask, is the resource supported by any existing arrangements, and how is the organization as a whole? So there's not any existing arrangements for what the hotel bases their stuff off of. As you can see, there was no proper way for reporting their financial accounts, and we had some issues with getting these proper reports. And then if you look at the organization as a whole with the employees, they had many perks for them, such as their cafeteria, their laundry, etc. And you notice that the employees said they were satisfied as long as they received their salary.
Now we're going to look at a few of the external factors that have had an effect on the Bonstar Hotel. In political, Krieg Corporation was one of the first on the ground after independence from the Soviet Union, and there are 25 independently owned hotels that fall under 3 categories. From the economic side, Namaste has a stable government and a GDP of $11,000. There's a growing energy sector, and guests pay for products by both cash and credit card. In the social cultural aspect of the hotel business, breakfast is not included in room price, and entertainment is a huge factor, as well as on-site casinos and saunas. Under technological, the Bonstar Hotel has no website or online booking, and there's outdated kitchen and laundry utilities. The weather is very cold in the area, which creates an issue with insulation of rooms. In the legal aspect, most parts of Asia keep numerous sets of books, which created an issue for us in this case. To see a more detailed analysis of the pestle, as well as other forces acting upon the hotel, please reference the appendix. For further assessment, Bonstar Hotel is a three-star hotel. It has similar occupancy rates to other 3-star hotels in the areas. The hotel is poorly managed, and the presence of multiple books makes it difficult to access the actual profitability of the business. The stakeholders have conflicting interests and further complicate the management. Accounting records are merged across the companies that own the Bonstar Hotel, which complicates an audit. Quarterly reports are inaccurate and inconsistent with business performance. Krieg and Kaplan own all of the companies that operate the business and hold high positions within those companies. This creates a conflict of interest with the ownership and managerial systems. The managerial staff is disconnected with what is occurring in the hotel and has shown little interest into finding out what is going on.
Lastly, we would like to go into the recommendations. Currently, you are faced with 2 options. The first option is to divest your property of Bonstar Hotel entirely, and your second option is to strategically invest in the hotel. We would highly recommend that you invest in the hotel. In the short term, we would help you find potential buyers. We would help you determine whether to sell the casino and the hotel separately or together, and perform additional audits to compile more accurate accounting records. However, should you choose to invest in the short term, you will need to fire Kaplan and look for a suitable local replacement with hotel management experience. It would be nice to include Kaplan as part of this process to have a smoother transition. We could also look at selling or leasing the office space area. Launching a website could be another step forward in this process, given that a lot of international travelers look for a website and prefer online booking. We'd help create a formal and centralized process to manage the finances. In the long term, you would have to look at refurbishing the complex with suppliers selected by competitive pricing and not by the personal connections that they have with the manager. You could also look at outsourcing additional services. We should also focus on the core competency, which includes refurbishing room and entertainment spaces, including new entertainment options such as clubs, sauna, and restaurants, which are industry standards at this point, would also go in our favor. We should also look at partnering up with other corporations and renovate the casino. Thank you so much for your time.